All right, cool.
Okay, here we go. All right, so what's your deal with the media? You gonna talk smack about me after I hang up?
What? Oh, I got no issues with the. Okay, I know. Clown suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. You know what that comes from? It's just like, I mean, you watch the news, you see what it's like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even especially now, like in light of like the recent fucking terrible tragedies, like whenever something like that happens, you turn on Fox or whatever station, and they've got these like crazy icons for like Attack on America, and it looks like some out of a fucking comic book, or you turn on the news and like it's been rain, they're like, oh my god, it's famine because it hasn't rained, and it's based on, I mean, like, fear keeps people glued to a television set, and that sells ratings, and sells advertising, and that's ratings, and like keeps the stations making money. So like the news is just fucking like, it's like glorified fucking terror advertising, and now that I remember specifically that song, I remember I was watching something on TV, the news, like early in the morning, and they were showing some fucking miserable third world country where people killing each other, and they showed this lady like running across the street, just like like mom-looking lady. She got like shot in the hip, and like hit the ground screaming and shit, and people just filmed it. I'm just sitting there eating breakfast, watching it, finished breakfast, turned off the TV, and like left, like it was like no thing. Meanwhile, this miserable shit was happening someplace, and I like kind of realized, it was like, wow, like this is what watching this shit all the time has done to me, and so that's basically what that song's about.
All right. What are your future plans with Nora as far as touring and recording? Any split 7 inches, new releases, or tour dates I should know about?
I mean, we're playing, I think, just about every weekend through October. We're setting up some stuff for November and December now. We just got an offer to do a week down south with Conversion, American Nightmare. We just got to see how work permits with that, because that would be awesome. And then we're going to fly out and we want to do like 5 days in California right after the winter, or the end of the winter. Because we know the guys in like Throwdown and Ekin Visions, and we've never been out there to play, and figure, we're not going to be able to drive out, so fuck it. We'll roll on Priceline and try and get cheap flights, rent a van when we get out there and do it. Recording, nothing's coming up, I mean, we've been writing one song for the past like month or something.
Yeah.
I'm just focusing on making sure our set's tight, and when they have time or the inspiration hits them, they'll start writing. And it's going to be, the next time we do record, it's going to be a totally different process. We sat down and wrote Losers. It was like, all right, we've got 5 months. Let's write and record an album. And this next time we've got, as long as we fucking want, years just write when we feel like it, and no pressure, no stress. And I think it'll make for an interesting record, just by merit of the different ways that it's going to be created. But we don't have anything lined up, and we've been talking with Unearth about doing a split. They've got 1 or 2 songs recorded that they're looking to do something with, and ask us about it. That's a possibility, but we'll see. Definitely no plans.
All right. As I mentioned before, you have kind of a full plate with Ferret and Roadrunner. Do you ever feel like your bandmates or your band itself suffer because of your large workload, and you think that if Nora hit it big, you would even be able to sustain it?
You know what? I mean, if it would bother me if that were the case, if everybody else was like, all right, we're ready, let's do it, let's go. And I was like, yeah, I got to go to work. But, I mean, everybody in the band is in the same position I am. The youngest guy in our band, Matt, he works in New York. He writes music for a living. He can, he has as much trouble or more getting off work than I do. Spleet, our bass player, and our other guitar player, Matt, they work together for a college newspaper. In the summer, they got tons of time, but, during the year, like, they've got to, deliver a paper every day, and, Spleet runs the place. He can't get off. So, I mean, no one's really in a position to just up and go on tour. So I'm not really holding anybody back. I'm not at practice as much as everybody else is. I live in Jersey City, which is about 40 minutes away from everyone else.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when it's time to write, I make point of getting down there no matter what, and they yell at me if I don't. And, they live all in the same vicinity. They write, get together all the time. And so far, no one's held each other back. We've managed to all keep on pushing together. I mean, it's what's worked out for us that we are all in the same boat, you know.
Yep. So tell me about Ferret Music.
Ferret. You know, it's this little fucking rinky-dink label. Keeps me busy every night and whenever nobody's looking, basically. Portland, our guitar player, has been helping me with Ferret a lot lately. He probably does as much as I do at this point, which is awesome for me because it's really helped things step up. I don't know, I've been doing it about 4 years now. It's really just people really started kind of noticing it on, like, I guess a wider level with the Kill Switch record coming out. It's the first time I ever, like, went to radio and spent real money on advertising and shit like that. And, I mean, since then, everything I've put out has, been doing pretty well. The label takes care of itself. I don't really draw any money from it, but I'm not putting my own personal money into it anymore. It just kind of keeps rolling over. There's some credit card issues in there, but, it'll all work itself out. I don't know. Bands are getting a lot of attention lately as the music, mainstream music ideals are changing. There's a lot more people knocking on my band's doors and looking, over my shoulder to see what, Kill Switch has got signed to Roadrunner. There's majors, Roadrunner, and, other, like, majors looking at some other bands on my label, like, weird shit like that. And, I think it's flattering. It's cool. Roadrunner knows I do the label, obviously, and, they're cool with it. They kind of see it as an asset. And, it keeps me busy. I like it. It's fun. Pretty proud of every single thing I released. Haven't made too many mistakes.
So how do you go about choosing who to sign, and what kind of bands are you currently looking for, or are you?
I just signed this band, The Suicide Note. I haven't even announced it yet. Some guys out from the Midwest, fucking amazing. And, with them, like, I got a demo from them, because I'm friends with one of the guys in the band. I was just kind of not into the demo. I was hanging out at my friend's house, this guy Ben from his company, The Syndicate. We were just chilling, listening to music. And he's like, I got to play something for you. He's like, this band's Suicide Note. And I was like, oh, dude, I heard that. It's, put something else on. He's like, no, you got to hear it. And I was like, all right. So they put it in, and it's their new stuff. And, I was like, first listen, I got it. I was like, this is fucking awesome. It's got, like, this sort of, like, old punk rock, Black Flag feel mixed with, like, like a new style, metal, hardcore, crossover, dirty thing. And, the kid's got an awesome voice. The imagery and the lyrics is fucking great, just all around. I was like, I called the band the next day and just started working shit out with them. But I don't know, I mean, I guess, I'm not looking for anything. If something comes up that strikes me, then, I'll go for it. I'm going to do a Super Machiner record. And I think that's going to be really cool. Should be really weird, but should be, that'll be cool. Blood Isn't Sharing and record again. Those guys I saw in a basement, they played in front of 6 people on fucking, 100 and some odd degrees in this miserable basement, and they were fucking amazing. And that was like what sold me on them. Just like something different for every band, but it's, just something that kind of strikes me.
Right. What advice in general would you give aspiring musicians about choosing a label?
Don't sign to a hardcore label that's asking you to fucking sign up for 4 records and, shit like that. Think about your future, like what you want to do. I don't know. There's a lot of fantasies running all around out there. I mean, basically just, be smart. Find someone that knows what they're doing and ask them for help, Don't jump at the first thing. And, just remember you're doing this shit for fun,
All right. What advice would you give someone interested in starting their own label?
Actually, that's a question I get pretty often, and I have no idea, because if I were, like, sit back and try and start one now, first thing I'd say is, dude, go find someone to give you $50,000, because, anything else, I started with, like, $1,300, but I made a Blockbuster, and I put out a 7-inch with it, and I lost, I think I might have made $500 back or something. And it's just like, such a, like, a slow process before it's, like, built in. I don't know, put out good records, build a brand. I mean, I've got a point now where I can sell, thousands of anything just because it's like my logo's on it and people trust that I'm putting out something good. So you don't ever want to fuck with that. You want to, stay true. Don't put out a record just because, like, oh, this is probably going to sell. Even though I'm not really into it, but, a lot of, like, that sort of thing, like, put out stuff you feel, don't try and, live for anybody else, or like put out records that you think are going to make a bunch of money. If you think you got a good ear, just put out what you like, and eventually people will respect you for it.
All right.
And, that sort of thing helps.
So, discuss your feelings on the recent terrorist attacks and tell me what you would do if you were president.
If I was president,
Yeah.
I'd do the same thing George Bush was doing. I'd ask everybody around me that actually knew what the fuck you do in a situation like that. You know, I mean, he just turned around and talked to Dick Cheney and Colin Powell and his dad, and we're like, what do I do? You know, that's what I'd do. I'd have to ask somebody that actually knew. I mean, a situation like that is just crazy. It's like, it's basically an unfathomable situation to be in. You know, it's like, you've got to do the right thing, and you've got to, you know, there's a fine line between revenge and justice, and, you know, you don't want to fucking toe that line. You definitely don't want to step over it. I don't know, you know, he's got a whole bunch of shitty, hard decisions he's got to make, and, you know, we'll just kind of see what happens on the other side of it.
How are you?
I mean, I was on the streets in New York when the second plane hit, watching, and then I watched the two towers fall from my office window, and then I spent the whole day trying to get home, and, you know, it was probably some of the most, like, surreal, unsettling events, like, I've ever seen in my life, you know. How do I feel about it? I don't think, you know, anyone in the United States, you know, no one's lives are going to be the same after that day, just by merit of the fact that it's totally changed our world. I think there was only one other time in the history of the United States where more people died in one day during one single event. It was a battle in the Civil War. I forget the battle where like 10,000 people died in one day. You know, that was a long fucking time ago. And, you know, since then, you know, like not even fucking Pearl Harbor, like nothing of this magnitude has ever happened, like in our country. You know, that has massive ramifications for everybody's lives. Americans don't know how to be scared. We're going to have to learn.
So how old are you?
26.
Would you go if they asked you?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I always joke, you know, you're not putting a gun in my hand and sending me anywhere. You know, I'll pick up a gun and fight when the tank rolls down my street and, you know, knocks on my door, which, you know, maybe that's what just happened. I mean, honestly, I just don't know. I have to see, you know, the wins and the whys and the hows of when it came there. I mean, I'm not, you know, opposed to the U.S. having a military presence or anything like that. I mean, it's unfortunately necessary. And, I mean, I grew up, my dad was in the Air Force for 26 years. I grew up in the military, on military bases, around all that shit, you know. I'm not a huge fan of, you know, violence and wars, definitely. Pretty much last resort. But yeah, I guess I can't say whether yes or no, whether I'd go or not. You know, would I have gone to Desert Storm? No. You know, that was just ridiculous. You know, would I have gone to Vietnam? I don't think I would have had a choice, but, you know, I probably would have fucking died there, and I wouldn't have had any desire to be there. But, you know, as with any conflict, with any period in time, you know, you've got to look at the context around it. So I guess we'll have to see, and hopefully they won't call me.
All right. Well, listen, Carl. That was going to be my last question, except I'm terribly unprofessional and somehow forgot to tape the first part. So you're going to hate me, but yeah, seriously, I got this new tape machine and I totally fucked it up. So you mind if we go over the first few again? Totally sorry. Totally apologize.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. The first one was just give me a little bit of background on Nora and tell me your goals as a band.
Okay. Background on Nora. I'm going to do the recap.
Yeah, just a little bit, you know.
It's, you know, we've been doing it just about 4 years. It started with me and Fleet, our bass player, and Chris Ross, our drummer. Then Mike, who now sings for Burn by the Sun and sang for Endeavor at the time. And our friend Murph played guitar. We went through, Jesus, I don't even know, like a lot of guitar players before we finally settled in with our current lineup, which is still me, Fleet, and Ross. And our two guitar players, Matt Hake and Matt Hay. You can figure out how to spell that shit from our website.
Yeah.
But, and, you know, we've kind of, those are the guys that all sat down together and we wrote Losers Intuition together. And it's definitely the best that's ever been because everyone is focused and it's like the only thing they're doing and it's what they want to do as far as like band interests. Prior to that, we were a side project or there were other side projects going on or, you know, that sort of shit. And goals, we just want to keep playing, you know, you know, different cities and different front of different kids. We want to go to Japan. We've been to Europe. We want to go out to California. We want to, you know, places in the U.S. we haven't been. We want to see what our songs that we write a year from now are going to sound like. You know, just keep growing and, you know, maybe give something back. Maybe write songs that might mean something to somebody and they might listen to 5 years from now, you know.
All right. Tell me why you decided. I read somewhere the album was originally going to be called Travelers. I heard you had the tattoo. Why'd you go with Loser's Intuition, and what's the deal with Travelers? For the
We changed the name from For the Travelers to Loser's Intuition after we got the art from Derek Hess. The artwork came in, we loved it. I was looking at it, I was like, this just totally doesn't work with For the Travelers. It doesn't, it works for Nora, but just like, that's like not the feel of the artwork. And what we got from, what I got out of the artwork was like perfect for that song, Loser's Intuition, which is basically a song about hopelessness. So we just, I told everybody in the band that I was thinking about changing it. I wanted to know their opinion, and everyone liked the idea. They actually, liked it better. So we went with it, and, I think it totally works. For the Travelers is still some of my favorite lyrics on the whole record, and it's like one of the most meaningful songs on there because it's just that. It's about, being a traveler, or, someone, and in that sense to me is basically like, being a hardcore kid, being someone that like lives for this weird kind of feeling you get from this tiny little music scene that there's like no money in, and it's just, like energy and passion and the willingness to fucking sacrifice time and money just to do it and be a part of it for, and whatever side you're on, whether you're going to see shows or whether you're a band driving to play shows, and whether you're doing a label or a zine or, or whatever, just, you want to be involved because you get something out of the music.
So tell me again why you chose Trustkill.
Trustkill, because I didn't want to be the guy that put out his own stuff. We wanted to kind of make it on our own, and Josh invited us on a label for the full length. And at the time we were about to do the U-Line record on another label, and that kind of fell apart and wasn't looking like it was going to come out. And we asked Josh to go ahead and buy that and do that as well after he made us the offer. And Trustkill's a great label. He's really good at what he does. We're personally close with him, and he's been really good to us. He's been better to us than he needed to be. He's put a lot of effort and committed a lot to the record for a band that's like not a full-time, full touring band. I mean, we do as much as we can, and we're definitely busy. But he did a lot, gave us, put a lot of faith behind the record, and it's worked out really well. So yeah, it's been good.
Okay. The next one was about the recording process, why you chose to do it where you did, and how it turned out.
We recorded with Eric Rachel at Tracks East. We recorded everything except for our first record there. We totally clicked with Eric, and it's a great studio that's got a lot of history, and with the bands that we have loved, Dillinger and Dead Guy and Lifetime, Hatebreed and Snapcase, amazing records have come out of there, and we knew we could get the sound we wanted, and just everything kind of clicked and worked together, and Eric was willing to hook us up with very reasonable pricing so we could afford to be in there long enough, or as long as possible, to make the record, and it worked out. It was good. We got exactly what we wanted out of the album.
All right. Why again did you feel you need to add explanations of your songs?
Because at one point I feel weird because I'm repeating this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Oh, no, not at all. It's just, it's funny. Because when the Kill You for a Dollar record came out and was getting reviewed, the kid wrote a review of it that, it was actually a good review about the music, and then went on to, kind of an offhanded side note comment at the very end. Was like, oh, by the way, the lyrics aren't really about anything at all, which I still think those are some of the best lyrics I've ever written. I was totally bothered by that, and they were definitely about something. And we just, I didn't want anyone to ever think that again, to think that the lyrics were just, taking up fucking space or just another sound. Because it's something, I put a lot of effort into the lyrics. The band is very aware of the lyrics, and at times have helped me to flesh out ideas that I wanted to get out, or it's definitely something that we all put a lot of effort into. We're a hardcore band. We get up and we sing about something. I think if that helps somebody get something out of it, we're going to do it. And I think it's important for people to know that we're not just up there bullshitting. You know,
Right.
I'm going to be up there, and we're going to be stomping around on stage, and I'm going to be screaming like we're angry. You got to be angry about something, otherwise you're just fucking Primer 55, and you're a joke.
All right. The last thing was about the Lamb Goat interview. Tell me what you thought of that again.
Oh, the Lamb Goat one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that review, it's weird. I read it, and I didn't know what to think at first. But, the more I was looking at it, the more I realized that it was like, I mean, he summed up me as a vocalist pretty well. I'm actually looking at the review right now as we're talking. And, while some of the stuff could totally be taken as like, wow, that's kind of brutal, it's, it's obviously not without justification. I can't sing. I've got, low range. But at the same time, I push what I can do to the very fucking edge of what I can do. And, it seemed like, he noticed that. I think here he says, he's like, he has a presence that demands attention. I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things someone, ever said about the vocals. And, I don't know, it was the fact that it, like, it was powerful, and it was fucking, like, yeah, I'm not gonna fucking sing any songs. We're not gonna get signed to a major label based on my vocals, but, I like to think they are powerful. To me, it's the best I can do, and, I was definitely happy with that review.
All right. Well, Carl, it's about it. I'm so sorry that happened.
Oh, no, it's quite all right.
Do you have any closing thoughts or anything you'd like to plug? Any websites or anything?
You can check out the Nora website at the NoraRockMachine.com. And just thanks a lot for your interest in the band and your time, man.
No problem. Thanks, Carl.
I appreciate it.
Sorry I'm a loser, but
Oh, no, it's all good, man. Don't you worry.
I'll get in touch about the Every Time I Die and everything like
We'll
that.
figure out the Every Time I Die one.
Yeah.
All right?
Absolutely.
You have a good day, man.
You too, Carl.
Peace.
Bye.